Hello, my name is Adam Cassedy. I'm a Teamcenter application engineer here at Prolim. Today I have this presentation for you on the 3D visualization features of the Active Workspace client. Here is a rough agenda. I've got a couple of slides I want to cover before we get into the demonstration portion, where I'll be going over all of the features of the 3D visualization in Active Workspace. First, I want to talk about the licensing model. Every Teamcenter author or Teamcenter consumer user has access to the base license level for visualization. That means that anyone who can log into Teamcenter has at least the base visualization license level. And the features covered there are on the left side, and I'll be going through these in the demonstration portion. What I won't be covering are the features on the right side, as these are behind the standard, professional, or mock-up license level. If you're interested in those features or the other potential features included, I'd encourage you to reach out to your Prolim account manager so that you can find the license level that works best for you. Another thing that I want to note is if you do have some of these advanced visualization license levels, they will need to be assigned to the person who's going to be using that license in the Teamcenter organization. Otherwise, they'll default to using that base license level. The other thing I want to speak about is the ways that you can access 3D visualization features with Teamcenter. Teamcenter has had 3D visualization capability for quite some time, and that goes back to the Teamcenter Lifecycle Viewer, which is a standalone application, or a Teamcenter Lifecycle Viewer Perspective in the Rich Access client. Nowadays, you can access the 3D visualization in Active Workspace through an integrated CAD application or through a web browser window, which is what I'll be doing today. All of these ways of accessing 3D visualization features provide the same feature set. They're all using the same licensing model, so a base visualization license could be used in all of these. However, how you use the tools and features will be different. You know, the drop-down menus can be different between these interfaces. Since the Active Workspace web browser doesn't require any additional applications to be installed, that's what I'll be focusing on demonstrating here today. So, here I've got my full-screened web browser window of Active Workspace, and I've got this demo throttle assembly loaded up. I'm in the tree with summary view, so I have this panel on the right side here. This should be the default layout, as well as this bill of materials table on the left. Now I've selected this 3D tab here to bring up the 3D visualization. This is interactive with the bill of materials, so I can click on the icons on the left side to turn on and off the visualization for those subcomponents. And if I ever get lost, I can always come back to the top and turn everything on or off. The other thing I want to note is Active Workspace has a split view. This is commonly used for comparing bills of material. I could open up a different assembly here and compare the BOMs between the two. But I also want to point out that if you're on that 3D tab, you can compare the 3D visualization of those two models as well. Of course, these are still the same model here, but that's something that you can do. I'm going to close out of that split view for now. And we'll go ahead and use the full screen button here to full screen this 3D visualization for now. First, I want to talk about the snapshot. So I can click this button to take a snapshot. You can see this SNP01 was added to my gallery. My gallery is accessible from this gallery button right next to the Create Snapshot button. So here I've got my SNP01 snapshot. I can rename this if I want, instead of using the auto-generated one that's configured for my environment. So I'll just call this a demonstration snapshot. The other thing you can do is you could apply the current snapshot to the current view. So if the view was reset, you can set the view up to match the snapshot, or I could update the snapshot to match what I currently have in the view. I also have the ability to delete it if I so desire. And from this window, I could change my list of snapshots to more list view, and then filter those using this box and this dropdown if I so desire, as well as capture new snapshots. Now you just saw me move the model around, so I'm going to go through that really quick. If I left click, I can rotate the model. If I middle click, I can pan it. And if I right click, I can zoom out and zoom in. If you don't have a 3-button mouse, you might only have a touchpad or something like that, you can change the primary interaction method using this dropdown. So for me, that's left click. I could change that functionality from rotate to zoom. So now when I left click, I zoom in and out. Or I could change it to pan. So now left click is panning around. This doesn't change what middle click or right click do, just the primary method, which is left click. So I'm going to change that back to rotate for now so I have the full set of actions. All right. Now I want to show you something else really quick. I'm actually going to leave the visualization and do a quick search. If you remember, I created that snapshot, which now shows up in the search results. It's an object in Active Workspace. So I've got my demo snapshot as well as my demo assembly that I'm showing. This is useful because I could submit these together to a workflow and then have that snapshot there as a tool that whoever the reviewer is could use to take a look at the model in a particular orientation. For now, I'll go ahead and open up that snapshot to get back to my model. And the other thing I want to cover here is the area select. So I can drag a bounding box and select some parts. You can see the selection is being updated in the bill of materials on the left as well. For now, I'll just go back to full screen. Make sure I've got my rotate turned on. And now we can take a look at some of the standard views. So from this drop down, I've got standard views, top, bottom, left, right, front, back, as well as isometric and inverse isometric. And these will just set up that view for you. I can also use this fit button to fit the model to the screen. And now let's get into the measurements. So under the measurements, I've got a few options. I'm going to start with parts. And I can select one of these parts and then another one and get the distance in between them. I could also do this with surfaces. So I could select, say, that surface and that surface, pull out a measurement there, or edges, say a couple edges here, points, vertices, so those two, and even arc centers. So you get the distance through there. Now, all of these measurements are in meters right now. That's just because those are the default units set up for this particular model. I'll show you how to change that later, but for now I'm going to go to delete, and I will delete all of these measurements just to clear it out. Now let's step forward to the geometric information. We've got similar options as we did with the measurements, but this is just going to display information for each part. So I can select something. I've got the part, the name, area, volume. If I go to surfaces, I can get the area of the surface. Edges, I can get a length. Point, I can get some position data. Vertices, just a particular point. Arc center, so I can that one, say. And if I needed this information, I could always select it and hit copy text to copy it to my clipboard and then paste it outside of the application. For now, I'll delete all these as well. The next thing I want to cover is creating sections. So I could create a section and pick a particular plane that I want the section to be in or through. You can see I've got the trihedron in the bottom left that shows my axes for reference. So I'll pick one here, and we can see I've got a few options for how this is slicing through the model. I can adjust this forward or backward. I could toggle the visibility of this particular section if I didn't want it to be displayed, because this will remain in place even if I close it out. I could always hit the section button to come back to my list of sections. I can change the plane that the section is cutting through, as well as turn on some cut lines and disable showing the cut faces if I wanted to do that. I could also change the clipping direction. So if I wanted to clip the other half of the model, I could have that and adjust it to wherever I want it to cut. For now, I'll just close out of this and delete this particular section. The final button here is the PMI button. I don't have PMI for this assembly, but if I select this part, you can see that I do. If I go to the type section here, you can see what type of PMI I have. So there's a reference axis and a couple of reference planes. I'm going to go to the model views and turn all of that PMI on in the isometric view. So now I might decide that I want to get a closer look at that axis, so I could turn off these planes. Oops. And manipulate the model to get a look at that axis if I so desire. All right. Now, I still have this particular part selected. You can come to the visibility controls to turn on and off the visibility of a selected part or everything in general. So just turn everything back on. And the last thing that I want to cover here are the viewer options. So here's where I could change my units from meters to inches. If I still have any measurements out there, this wouldn't change the existing measurements. This would just affect the new ones that I create, would now be in inches. I can turn on and off the trihedron in the bottom left. This render location, this controls where the computing is done to generate the view of this 3D model. So this could be done locally on your client machine, on the machine that you're physically interacting with. So if you have a GPU in that machine, this will generally be a pretty performant option. Or it could be done on the server. So that would be the Teamcenter server will do all the computing steps and then send that information to your client. There are some differences in the features of Teamcenter visualization between the two of these, but they're few and far between. Everything that I've shown you here is covered in the base visualization and available in both the server and the client rendering modes. But if you find that you're experiencing a laggy, non-performant visualization, you can come here and try changing where the visualization work is being done to see if that gets you any more performance. The other thing you can do is change this color scheme. So I could give a gray ramp background if I so desired, and I could show PMI flat to the screen if I wanted to. So that covers all the base visualization features here. Let me know if you have any questions.